What's going on, everybody? It's Razor Ray and I'm here to walk you through this haircut tutorial. This time my model has wavy hair on the top and he's getting a low skin tape up. And for those who don't know what that is, the blend is really going to take place in front of the ear where his sideburns are and behind the ear where the nape area is. So to start off, I like working with the top, set the length, because that's what's going to set the foundation for the fade or the blend I'm going to do on the sides. All I used was some water and some sea salt spray. The sea salt spray I like because it keeps the hair damp long enough for me to do what I need to do on the top. So just like in my last video, I'm going to draw a vertical section through the middle, keeping in mind how he's going to want to style it after the haircut. So I'm going to make the shape round. I think this will complement his facial features. On a side note, while you watch me set the length, I just want to say I do appreciate all the love and the feedback that I got in the first video, and I'm hoping this type of content is helping somebody out there, whether it's a barber or a stylist, level up in their craft. So if that's you, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So after I set the length with our vertical guide, I'm going to go ahead and do horizontal sections starting from the back and slowly working my way to the front, using about 1 finger to 2 fingers in length for each section moving up. Now again, just to dissect this a little further, remember that vertical guide that we had made down the middle of his head? Well, I took that and I laid it over to the right side, and now I'm making sure that all the uncut hair is even with that guide. Okay, so it doesn't show here on camera, but basically when I was done on the first side, I remade my vertical guide and placed that onto the other side where the uncut hair is, and repeated that same technique from the back, working my way all the way to the front in the same way. Okay, so now I'm using a technique called cross-checking. This is basically checking your work. Now get this, we cut the top horizontally, working our way from the back to the front. Now we're checking it vertically to make sure that we take care of any stragglers or any hairs that are out of place, because sometimes you might miss a spot or two. Now we're blow drying his hair to see how it sets when it's dry. And then sometimes I like to take an extra step and style it a little bit. So in this case, I'm using a little bit of curling cream. And again, just to check, make sure that if there's any adjustments that we need to make before we go ahead and move on to the taper, we go ahead and take care of that. So you can see I'm using my diffuser to bring out some of those curls and just clean off all the loose hair around. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and take my trimmer. I'm going to outline that skin line. Now again, this is a low skin tape up, so I want to make that skin line low enough to where those C-cups really pop. And then I'll grab my foil shaver and bald out all that stubble. Alright, so pay close attention here. I'm going to go ahead and take my fade clipper. I'm going to open it up all the way, making my first fade zone. And this right here, I'm just using my corners because we're working with such a tight spot that if you use the full blade, you might end up pushing it up too high. So now as you can see, I closed my clipper up all the way, and I'm going to knock out that stubble line where it meets my first fade zone. Then I'm going to open my lever 1 to 2 clicks and go ahead and use my corners to blend the middle of that fade zone. Now you can see we popped that one guard on, and I'm going to open it up all the way. I'm going to knock down his beard a little bit before we go ahead and continue the taper. And now that we're back, we're going to go a finger length above that first fade zone that we created with that same level. Okay, we're almost done. Now we're going to close it up and focus using our corners in the middle of those 2 fade zones where they connect. And now we're using the almighty clipper over comb technique. I use this on just about 95% of all the clients that I see. All I'm doing is pulling out small sections of hair that I want to cut, and I'm running my clipper over the comb without pushing it in. And lastly, I'm going to take my clipper and do some detail work, doing some lever play in that fade to really make it pop. Now you see we got our trimmers out again. We're doing our bars, just getting those all lined up. Again, the reference here is a 1/4 inch in. Any more than that, then when his hair grows back, it's going to look like the ultimate pushback. All I'm really doing here is tapping and pulling with the corner of my blade, tracing out that C-cup. Now we're going to move over to the beard and line that up. When it comes to efficiency, I like doing everything that I need to do on one side before I move over to the other. To me, it's kind of like common sense because you got your trimmer out already, lining up the bars, the C-cup, might as well hit the beard too. Then before we move on to do the tape up on his nape area, we're going to start lining up around his ear and then connecting it towards the back. So back to that fading method we went over on his right side, we're going to do the same method on the back and on the left side. Alright, so anytime I'm preparing to do any line work, I always make sure to take a second and comb the hair out. Now I'm going to go ahead and start my line work by the nape area, connecting it to the line work we did around his ear. Same routine on the other side. Just comb the hair out and lay down that line work, starting from the bottom, working my way around the ear. Alright, right here I'm just finishing off with some final detail work before we get into the shave. Now for all the barbers out there who are learning to use a straight razor, you always want to make sure you're stretching the skin in the area that you do plan on shaving, and always keep your blade on a 45-degree angle as you're gliding it to shave the hair. And the other two tips that I'll give you when it comes to shaving: start off shaving with the grain and then you can go against the grain. This will help give you that clean, sharp finish that everybody goes crazy for. And last but not least, whenever you're using your blade around hard to reach areas, focus on the heel and the toe of the blade. Like for instance, when you're doing somebody's goatee, the mustache, you pay attention to the corners of the blade and elevate the other side. So now you're gonna watch me shave his beard line with the grain and then against the grain. This area right here is a prime example of what I mentioned earlier about using the corners of your blade. So now we're just doing some finishing touches, making sure that everything looks right, proportionate, even, balanced, blended, crispy, and that's a wrap for this one. Here's the final result. Again, I just want to say I appreciate you watching. Hopefully this video helps somebody out there who's looking to level up with their craft when it comes to tapers, shear work, line work. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and follow me on my social media accounts to stay tuned for any tutorials or any other tips when it comes to men's hair. See you on the next one.